The sky above Planet Vegeta burns orange. Frieza's warship hangs in orbit like a second moon, cold, patient, final. In every timeline we know, this is where the story ends for the Saiyan race. One tyrant, one fingertip, one ball of fire, and an entire civilization reduced to space dust. But not this time. This time, a bloodied, low-class warrior with a scar down his cheek doesn't fly into that sky alone. This time, someone listens. This is the story of what happens when Bardock doesn't just fight for his people, he saves them. This is What If Bardock Led the Saiyan Rebellion Successfully. Let's set the scene. It's age 737. Bardock has just dragged himself off the blood-soaked ground of planet Meat, where Dodoria and his elites slaughtered his entire squad under Frieza's orders. His best friend Tora died in his arms. He's wrapped Tora's blood-soaked armband around his forehead, and he's burning with the kind of fury only a Saiyan can carry. In the canon timeline, Bardock flies back to Planet Vegeta and tries to warn everyone. They laugh at him. They think he's lost his mind. What if, instead of screaming at strangers, Bardock went straight to the throne room? Bardock lands on Planet Vegeta hard.
His pod hisses open, and he stumbles out, armor cracked, one arm barely working. Blood from Planet Meat is still drying on Tora's armband. Saiyan soldiers loitering near the landing pads glance at him and look away. Just another low-class back from a rough mission. But Bardock doesn't head for the medical ward. He walks straight through the palace district. 2 royal guards step in front of him, crossing their arms. "State your business, low-class." Bardock doesn't slow down. "Tell King Vegeta that Frieza murdered his own soldiers on Planet Meat. Tell him I know about the recall order. And tell him that in less than a day, Frieza is going to destroy this planet with every Saiyan on it." The guards look at each other. "I said move!" Something in his eyes, in the blood, in the way this broken soldier stands like he's already died once and isn't afraid to do it again, makes one of them step aside. Inside the throne room, King Vegeta sits with his cape draped over one arm, listening to reports from a trembling aide about troop movements. He looks up as Bardock walks in uninvited. His eyes narrow. "You, Bardock, isn't it? One of the low-class squad leaders. I've heard your name." The king's voice is low, measured, clinical. "You look like you've been through a meat grinder. Whatever your complaint is, take it to your commanding, Frieza killed my men!" Bardock's voice cuts through the room like a blade. "Ordered it himself. Dodoria carried it out on Planet Meat, and he's about to do the same thing to this entire planet." Silence. King Vegeta's jaw tightens. Not with disbelief, with recognition. Because King Vegeta is no fool. Daizenshu describes him as having intelligence on par with the Tuffles. He's already noticed the patterns. Frieza's men asking about the Super Saiyan legend. The recall order pulling every Saiyan back to one location. The warship hovering overhead like a loaded weapon. He just hasn't wanted to believe it. "And how," the king says slowly, "does a low-class warrior know what Frieza is planning before I do?" Bardock hesitates. Then he tells the truth. The Kanassan, the visions. He describes what he's seen. A sphere of energy, blindingly bright, launched from Frieza's fingertip, consuming everything. He describes it in detail no spy could fabricate. The curve of the ship's hull as Frieza emerges, the cold smile, the way the planet cracks before it explodes. King Vegeta stares at him for a long time. "Visions," the king repeats flatly. You expect me to stake the survival of our race on the fever dreams of a low-class... Your son isn't on this planet, Your Majesty. Bardock's voice drops. Prince Vegeta is off-world with Nappa and Raditz. Frieza has him exactly where he wants him, separated from you, under his control. If this planet dies, your boy becomes Frieza's pet forever. That's the sentence that changes history. King Vegeta's eyes flash. His fists clench under his cape. Because Bardock hasn't just told him the world is ending. He's told him that Frieza is about to steal his son permanently. And there is nothing in this universe that King Vegeta cares about more than his bloodline, his legacy, his prince. What exactly are you proposing? The king asks. Bardock takes a breath. We can't beat him, not even close. His power level is over 500,000 in his weakest form, and he's got 3 more beyond that. But we don't have to beat him. We have to survive. The plan comes together in hours. There's no time for anything else. King Vegeta summons every elite and mid-class warrior left on Planet Vegeta. Roughly a dozen elites, maybe 10 mid-class fighters, and several hundred low-class soldiers. It's not much. The Saiyan population has already thinned over years of service to Frieza. But what they lack in numbers, they make up for in one terrifying advantage. Every single one of them has a tail.
Bardock lays it out with the bluntness of a soldier, not a strategist, but King Vegeta shapes the raw plan into something workable. Phase 1. Gine, Bardock's wife, who works in the meat distribution center, quietly organizes the non-combatants. Saiyan mothers, workers. She moves them toward the southern launch bay under the pretense of a supply shipment, loading them into every attack ball they can find. Guine's hands are trembling, but her voice is steady when she whispers to a frightened mother clutching her infant. Don't stop. Don't look back. Get in the pod and fly. Phase 2. A team of saboteurs, led by Tora, who in this timeline survived Planet Meat, because Bardock's visions warned him early enough to pull his squad out before Dodoria's ambush, infiltrates Frieza's ship through the maintenance corridors they know by heart. They've served on these ships for years. They know the blind spots. They plant overloads in the communication array, the sensor grid, the tracking systems. They won't destroy the ship. They can't. But they can blind it. Phase 3. The main event. King Vegeta steps onto the balcony of his palace and addresses the Saiyan warriors assembled below. His cape billows in the hot wind. His voice carries the weight of a king who knows he's about to ask his people to die. Saiyans, our so-called emperor plans to wipe us from existence. He fears what we might become. A pause. His eyes sweep the crowd. I say we show him he's right to be afraid. He raises his fist to the sky, and a blinding sphere of light erupts from his palm. A power ball, an artificial moon, blazing with Blutz waves. Every Saiyan with a tail looks up, and one by one, then all at once, they begin to transform.
The ground shakes. Hundreds of great apes rise across the surface of Planet Vegeta, each one a towering colossus of fur and fury. The average low-class Saiyan, maybe a power level of 1,000 or 2,000 in base form, is now sitting at 10,000 to 20,000. The elites are pushing past 100,000. King Vegeta himself, in his great ape form, towers above the rest. His power a roaring beacon somewhere between 100,000 and 180,000. Frieza's first form alone is 530,000. If he transforms, the gap becomes laughable. But the Saiyans aren't targeting Frieza. They're targeting everything around him. Great apes swarm Frieza's orbital frigates. They tear through platoons of Frieza's rank-and-file soldiers who have power levels in the hundreds and low thousands. Zarbon, at roughly 23,000, puts up a fight until 3 great apes corner him against a cliff face and bury him under a combined mouth blast. Dodoria doesn't fare much better. He goes down swinging, but a great ape's fist is the size of a small building. In orbit, Tora's sabotage team succeeds. Frieza's communications go dark. His tracking systems flicker and die. For a critical window, maybe 15 minutes, maybe less, Frieza's warship is deaf, blind, and isolated. And in those 15 minutes, hundreds of attack balls launch from the far side of the planet, carrying the future of the Saiyan race into the void. Frieza emerges from his ship. He hovers above the chaos, tail swishing lazily behind him, arms crossed. His expression isn't fear. It isn't even anger. It's amusement. The cold, detached amusement of a god watching insects try to sting him. My, he murmurs, watching a great ape rip the wing off one of his cruisers. The monkeys have learned a new trick. He lifts one finger. A thin, needle-like death beam lances through the skull of the nearest great ape. The Titan crashes to the ground, dead before it lands. Another beam. Another. Each shot is casual, precise, almost bored. Great apes begin to fall like dominoes. But Bardock is already moving. In his own great ape form, he charges Frieza from below. Not to kill him, not to hurt him, but to buy seconds. Just seconds. Each second is another pod launched. Each second is another Saiyan child carried into the stars. Frieza glances down at the massive ape hurtling toward him and sighs. Ah, the one with the headband. You again. He fires a death beam straight through Bardock's shoulder. The great ape roars, stumbles, but keeps coming. Another beam tears through his leg. Bardock falls to one knee. Even in this enormous form, he's nothing to Frieza. But he raises his head, and through the primal haze of the great ape's fury, Bardock's eyes are still his own. Focused, defiant. You're not getting all of us, he growls through massive fangs. Frieza tilts his head, and for the first time, something shifts in his expression. Not concern, just curiosity. He glances upward toward the far horizon of the planet, and his scouter. But his scouter shows nothing. The sensors are down. The tracking is offline. His eyes narrow. Zarbon, report. Silence. Dodoria, status. Nothing. The communication array is dead. And now Frieza feels something he almost never feels. Irritation. So that's your game, he whispers. You aren't fighting to win. You're fighting to run. He raises his hand. High above Planet Vegeta, a point of light appears. Orange, then red, then blinding white. The Supernova. The planet killer. The same weapon that ended the Saiyan race in every other timeline. King Vegeta sees it forming. He stands in his great ape form, battered, bleeding from a dozen wounds, surrounded by the bodies of his fallen warriors. He looks toward the southern horizon, where the last wave of pods is just now breaking atmosphere. "Are they clear?" he bellows to a nearby soldier. "Last pod's just launched, my king!" King Vegeta closes his eyes. When he opens them, there is no fear, only pride. "Then our people survive." He turns toward the growing inferno above. "And a Saiyan king dies on his feet." Tora grabs the wounded, reverted Bardock, who has lost his great ape form from the damage to his tail, and hurls him into a waiting attack ball. "Tora, no! I'm not leaving!" "You have a wife out there, you stubborn idiot!" Tora slams the pod shut and smashes the launch sequence. "And 2 sons who need a father. Go!" The pod rockets away from the surface just as the sky turns white. The supernova hits. Planet Vegeta cracks, buckles, and detonates in a silent flash that erases everything. King Vegeta, Tora, the palace, the mountains, the meat distribution center where Gine used to cut steaks and hum to herself. All of it. Gone. But scattered across the cosmos, in hundreds of tiny pods streaking through the dark, the Saiyan race lives on. Bardock's pod drifts through the wreckage of what used to be his world. Through the cracked window, he watches the debris field expand, fragments of red rock and twisted metal, all that remains of Planet Vegeta. Tora's blood-stained armband is still tied around his head. His fists are clenched so tight his knuckles have gone white. He thinks of Gine. She made it out. He can feel it, not through any scouter or power reading, but through something deeper. She made it out because she's tougher than any Saiyan gives her credit for, and because she had a ship full of people counting on her. He thinks of Kakarot, already somewhere in the stars, hurtling toward a little blue planet called Earth. He'll grow up without knowing any of this. Maybe that's for the best. And he thinks of King Vegeta, standing in the light of that supernova, roaring defiance at a god who could erase him with a thought. "You gave us time, you stubborn old king," Bardock mutters. He wipes blood from his eye. "I won't waste it." Somewhere across the galaxy, Frieza stares at the empty space where Planet Vegeta used to be. His expression is unreadable. Then, slowly, his lips curl into a frown. "Kikono," he says quietly. "Yes, Lord Frieza?" "How many pods launched before the planet was destroyed?" A long, terrible pause. We're still assessing, my lord. The sensors were..." "I know about the sensors." Frieza's voice could freeze a star. "Find them. Every last one." The hunt begins. But the Saiyans are already scattered across 100 worlds, and among them, growing stronger with every battle, every scar, every near-death recovery, is a race that Frieza tried to erase, and failed. The Super Saiyan legend was supposed to be a myth, a fairy tale told by low-class warriors around campfires. But legends have a way of becoming real when an entire civilization has nothing left to lose. And that's our story. But really, this is only the beginning. What happens when Frieza hunts the Saiyan diaspora? Does Vegeta unite the scattered clans as the new Saiyan king? Does Bardock ever reunite with Kakarot on Earth? And who becomes the first Super Saiyan? Is it Vegeta, burning with a prince's rage? Or is it Bardock himself, the low-class father who refused to let his people die? Let me know what you want to see in Part 2 down in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay strong, warriors.